This week is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to do a regular farm, business and creative update. Instead, I'm going to take a bit of a deeper dive into my current unfinished projects and decide whether they should be finished or frogged. If you'd like to see one of my regular weekly updates, just check the playlist and follow me along there to see what's happening around the farm. Okay, I haven't done this in a little while, so I thought what I would do is go through some of my unfinished objects, things that have been sitting in project bags, hiding away from me a little bit, that I have let sit and not get worked on. Here every week I show you what I'm currently working on, what I'm being inspired by, the things that are active or the things that I end up finishing. But these are a few things that have been languishing for a little while that I thought I should go through and have a look and decide whether I want to keep them, start working on them again, or perhaps even frog them. So I'm going to go through my bags. There'll be a little bit of bending over, and we will go through everything that I think I currently have as a project. All right, I'll have to got my ugly Coles bag here, which has got quite a few project bags in it, and I will go through and pull things out as we go. First, I have this crochet scarf that I started working on, and this is in my own colorway Azalea, and it's quite pretty, but I'm not sure that I am going to want to finish it. I kind of did it so that I could see what this looked like crocheted up, and as you can see, my crochet is not the best. Look at this edge here, it's like all wonky. So I think this may end up being a frog, and I might find something else to do with this yarn. I mean, the colorway's coming out really pretty, but yeah, it doesn't really do it for me. I have enjoyed crocheting blankets in the past, but that's about as far as I've gone. So, yeah, I don't know, not inspired. Move on. All right, what else do I have in here? Oh, this one, this one sits and stares at me every day, and it's hardly any of the way through. It's extremely delicate lace pattern, and it's in this beautiful yarn bowl, which is actually, so it's attached, it's out through the hole here, which is partly why I haven't frogged it, and it's sort of just sat here. This is called the Emma shawl, I think it's called. I'll put the name and the details on the screen. And I have had this sitting at this point for a really long time. I love the finished object of this. It is a beautiful, wide, long wrap with beautiful lace detail, and I just think it looks gorgeous. And this yarn is gorgeous too. It's dyed by hand. I think it's called Kraken, and it's a tealy green, but it's just in the light, it looks beautiful. There's lots of different sort of tones in it. I do really want this finished object, but up until this point, I haven't terribly enjoyed the knitting. I found the pattern hard to read. The lace pattern's not terribly difficult, and the repeats aren't all that long, and it's not super wide. So I think I just need to rewrite the pattern in a way that is easier for me to read and follow. And I think if I can do that, then I should be able to get back into it. And maybe I just say, like, I do a couple of rows a week or a repeat a week or something. I don't know how manageable it is, but it is something that I do really, really want the finished object of. So I think I'm going to have to definitely make myself do it, because this is going to be more about the end result than it is about the actual knitting of the project itself. Okay. Oh, okay. I forget what this is called. I'll put the details on the bottom of the screen. There's no pattern in the bag, so I'd actually have to find the pattern online. I know it is a cat body pattern, and I think that you knit it and then you do like a twist and you join it so it sort of becomes a bit of a Mobius kind of scarf. I and it's kind of choose your own adventure cables. So rather than any set pattern, you just kind of work it and choose where you cross the cables yourself, just to make this kind of flowing pattern. And it looks really cool. Like I love how it looks and that it is very random. And I used this is a ball of yarn that I got from Japan in 2019, and I've just started, and you can see where the color changes slightly. I started because this was only one ball of this. I changed it to a ball of my and I actually have the original tag. So this was the yarn that the first half is in. And I'm now using some hand spun that I did. And I think this is one of the first hand spuns that I made that actually feels like I could knit something with it. And I thought it kind of went with this original slubby, and because it was going to end up being like a twisted cowl, it would work to have it change into a different yarn. So I love both the yarns and I love the idea of the pattern. So that might be something that I should pick back up again and have a little play around with and see if I can remember how many. I mean, you can see the cables and how they work. It's sort of more like a ribbing pattern that you then move the cables around. So yeah, maybe I get back into that one. I think that will stay on the needles. Well, it's not even on the needles right now. It's just on a holder. But cleverly, I put 4mm needles and I post it inside the bag, so I know what needs to go back on. Thanks, Pastorals. That was really clever. So that one I think I will keep. It would actually, the fabric of it's actually quite firm but not too firm, so I think it would make a really nice winter accessory. So yeah, maybe get back onto that one. Next bag. Actually, I don't have too many things. I was surprised how little I had on the needles, just sitting around. I've been much better at not doing quite as much. I did have a brioche scarf. It was not very wide and it was in 2-color brioche. And just before we went away, actually, I ripped it out. I grabbed it because I wanted to use the cable and the needles from it. So I was just going to put it onto a holder, and I'm like, I'm actually not all that excited by this project. It's very simple brioche. And I had made a mistake in the I-cord edge quite a ways down and I hadn't fixed it. And I thought, I'm just going to rip this one out and use those two beautiful colors for something else. So that one was a recent unfinished object that I ripped out. Okay, what do I have in this one? Okay, this is my Wool of My Pine wrap by Charamaid that I am doing with my own Wonka mini skein set. So I am transitioning through the colors. So this one has violet and pure imagination. This one has pure imagination and then that is pure imagination and snozzberries. That's just snozzberries. That's what's going on there? Oh no. So that's just snozzberries, and that's snozzberries and millions of tiny pieces. That's millions of tiny pieces. That's with To the Fudge Room. That's with Golden Ticket, and then that's back to with You're Turning Violet. So I've made a lot of progress on this, and I think the colors look really, really fabulous. Probably the most effective with the Fudge Room and the millions of tiny pieces, especially on the camera. The others you do pick up in person, but that's really popping in that one in particular. So I think I paused this because I needed scales, because I needed to weigh my mini skeins to see how much I had, so I could figure out how many more repeats I could do. The brioche in this is only for a few rows, and it is quite memorable once you get going. So I'm looking forward to actually finishing this one. Probably not in the near future, because there's a few things that I'm excited about that I have on my needles right now. But this is one that I do want to get off the needles and completed. It will make a really great sample on my stall, but it's also just really pretty, and I like how it's turning out. Oh, and there are my 3.5 millimeter tips that I've been thinking that I had lost. So that's good news too. Okay, what do I have in this one? This is my painting honeycombs shawl, which I'm kind of thinking of making more like a blanket, knee rug, depending on how big I can make it. Don't have the tips on this, so I hope I did another little note inside the bag. I'm using my own hand spun for this. I've got a huge gradient ball that I did. I think this was from Coloured Wool and Fibre Company. So I split out all the colours, and then I applied them on themselves to make this gradient. And I'm using the Queensland Collection Drover Merino Silk Tweed as the background colour. And I think it's coming out looking really quite effective. It's a nice use of the hand spun and the gradient. It started out as a blue at the bottom, going through to green, and then it's going to work into pinks and oranges. So I think I kind of got a bit bored, because I think this green section is going on for quite a while. But again, something that I probably need to properly read the instructions again, because this is sort of one that you get into a groove with, and then when you put it down, you might lose sort of how you did the edges and things. But hopefully, let's see if I was nice to myself. Did I put a note in here? There we go. 4.5 millimeter needles. Excellent. So that's another one that could get some work, although I feel like this might be one that waits until slightly cooler weather, because it's getting a little bit big, and I don't really want something big and heavy and warm on my lap during summer. This is actually my last one, I think. Apart from the things that I'm currently working on, which I will show you in my weekly updates. But I think this is actually the last project that I have sitting in a bag. And it's the Co-Line jumper, which I'm loving and definitely want to make. But I'm a bit torn. I'm thinking I might rip it back, work on some of these other things, and then when I have a little bit more focus, restart it. And then I think my tension will be even throughout. I'm a little bit wary of picking up I might have just dropped a stitch there. Picking up a colour work project when I'm halfway through, or not even. I'm a bit wary of picking up a colour work project and having my tension change. And I'm looking at it now, and I can see some spots where I'm actually not that happy with my tension. And I think I could do a much better job now that I've been practicing a little bit. So what needles do I have on here? Look, another 3.5. These are the ones that I didn't know where they were. And a 3.5. Brilliant. So I might just leave this on the needles for the time being, but with the thought in the back of my mind that I'll probably rip it out and start again, because I can see some bits that I'm not super happy with, and I think that I can do a better job if I focus on it as my only project for a period of time rather than switching between things. We'll see how we go. I need to put stoppers on this. Well, that's actually all I have on the needles that have been sitting for a little while. I've actually been quite good at not having too many things on the go. But having said that, a few of those things have been on the needles for quite a while and have just sat there. So they are at that point where I do really feel like I need to make a decision about what I do moving forward and making some progress on them or stopping them altogether. And as you can see, I had some in-between feelings about some of them, a bit more excitement about others, some a little bit more obligation. So I'm going to have a bit of a think about all of those now, and they might come back into rotation. You might see them in my weekly updates. Or you may not, and you may just hear that I've ripped it out. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and check back to see my regular weekly updates. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.